Hey everyone, welcome to Mindful Math, and today we're going to continue our GRE series and talk about another strategy that you can use, which is backsolving. So again, we're going to use the frame of the test, the format of the test rather, to our advantage. So we're going to use the answer choices rather than having to solve it algebraically. So I was going to go through some heuristics and rules that you can use to decide when you want to use backsolving, but I actually think it's better if you just try it out yourself, try it on 10 problems, and then do mixed practice sets and decide for yourself when it's best to use it and when it isn't. So this is actually going to be different for different people. It depends on your comfort level with using algebra. It depends on your comfort level with a lot of different things for what is going to be easiest for you. And I think it's better to approach these problems mindfully and from as many different perspectives as possible, rather than trying to memorize or formulate rules for when to use which strategy. So we are going to do these two problems using backsolving. You don't have to, so there are always multiple ways to do these problems. You can certainly solve these algebraically, but just to demonstrate the technique, I do think it's useful to have in your arsenal. So the first problem is a doozy. It's got a whole lot of words. In fact, this on the whiteboard here is just a shorthand, but the full problem is in your description below. So telephone company A charges $3 for the first minute of a call and 50 cents for each minute after that. Telephone company B charges $2 for the first minute and 70 cents per minute after that. If a call costs $15 more with company B, how long was the call? So first thing we always want to do, well, almost always, try to be mindful, right? But I think the first thing probably in every problem that you want to do is identify what the actual question is. And this is particularly important with these long questions because there are a lot of different questions that they could ask that would all test the same thing, but it's going to affect how we answer the question and what the correct answer is. And you can bet that one of the answers will be the right answer to a different question that they didn't ask. So we want to know how long was the actual call. So we're looking for the number of minutes of the call. And keep in mind that we do have the first minute is $3 with company A and $2 with company B. And then we have 50 cents after that and 70 cents after that. All right, so how do we do backsolving? So backsolving uses the answer choices to our advantage. And when they are in order like this, we actually want to pick B or D first. So intuitively, you would think that we should pick C first because that eliminates the most amount of incorrect answers. So for example, if we pick C and it was too low, we would know that it can't be A or B, but we actually can do a little bit better by picking B or D. Because if we pick B, for example, and it's too high, then we know that A is the correct answer. We don't even have to check anything else. Of course, if B is correct, we know we have the correct answer. We don't have to check anything else. But if it's too low, then we can pick D. Now again, if D is the correct answer, we're done. If D is too high, we know it has to be C because B was too low and D was too high. And if D is too low, we know it has to be E. So if we pick C, we still will only have to test at most 2. If we pick B or D, we at most have to test 2, but there's a 40% chance that we'll only have to test 1. So if we pick B and it's too high, then we're done. So 40% of the time, we're going to only have to test 1. Whereas if we pick C, only 20% of the time will we only have to test 1, because even if it's too low or too high, we'll still have to test one of the other two answer choices. So that's a bit abstract. It's probably not going to take you that much longer to pick C, so if you didn't follow that and you just want to pick C first, there's nothing wrong with that. Another thing you can think about, rather than just blindly doing that because I told you to, or because pretty much all the test prep centers will tell you to do that, you can look at which answer choice is easiest to test. So 77 is probably harder to test, so let's not pick that. All right, so let's go ahead and pick B, since I said to pick B or D. So B says that the call is 60 minutes long. So if the call is 60 minutes long, we know that for A, it costs $3 plus 50 cents times 59. So we do need to be careful here because we know that the first minute is $3 and then each subsequent minute after that is 50 cents. So you can use your on-screen calculator for this, but this should give you $32.50. And for answer choice B, we would have $2 plus 70 cents times 59. And if we do this, I'm actually going to have to multiply this out here because I didn't do this beforehand, which I probably should have. We have that it's $42.30 plus $2 is $44.30. So we know that that is not $15, that's not enough. So we know that we have to choose a higher answer. So let's go ahead and test answer choice D. So answer choice D is 80. So for A, we would have $3 plus 80 times 0.5. And for B, we'd have $2 plus 70 cents times 80. Oops, I made a mistake here. It should be 79, right? And if we use our calculator here, I'll spare you the time of having to do that. We will find that it is just short. And really key here, in that E is the correct answer, is that 80 is a trap answer. And that is because if we had set it up how I almost set it up just now, we would get that 80 is the correct answer, but we actually need 80 additional minutes, which is 81 minutes, to make it $15 after. So that's how you would do back solving and set it up. It's obviously easier to do with your calculator, so this is probably better on the GRE where you do have an on-screen calculator. But let's go ahead and move on to the second problem where we can eliminate some variables by using back solving. So go ahead and finish up that problem. So if you had any questions about the calculations, let me know. I want to skip that because I don't want to take up too much time. And let's go ahead and move on to the second problem. So the second problem says if x squared plus 5x plus 12 equals 8, what is a possible value for x plus 2? So again, we're looking for x plus 2, and we can guess that one of these answer choices will be the value of x. So that's the correct answer to a different problem. So that is the wrong answer for us. So notice that it also says possible value, which means that we might have more than one possible value, and that makes sense because whenever we see an x squared, we know that there are multiple possible answers. So we certainly could subtract 8 from both sides and factor it out and try to find it, or we can try back solving. So in this case, knowing whether the number's too high or too low is not going to help us since we have multiple possible solutions. So we can just go ahead and pick whichever one is easiest to calculate for us. And in this case, I'm going to start with E. And the reason I'm going to start with E is that E is the value of x plus 2. So if we're testing answer choice E, we know that x equals 1. And that's going to be easier to plug in. So 1 plus 5 plus 12 does not equal 8. So we know that that is wrong. So let's go ahead and test answer choice D. So if we test choice D, we know that x is -2. And -2 squared is 4, minus 10 plus 12 equals 8. And we can test whether that's true. And we'd get that it does not equal, so we know that answer choice D is incorrect. We'd have 4 minus 10 is -6 plus 12 is +6. So answer choice C would be -1, so we'd know that x would be -3. And in this case, we'd have 9 minus 15 plus 12, and we'd have to see, does that equal 8? And we would find that it does not, it equals 7 instead. So we're eliminating answer choices, which is always good. And let's go ahead and test answer choice B now. So if we test B, we know that x is -4, since we're looking for what is x plus 2. So if x equals -4, we're going to have 16 minus 20 plus 12 equals 8. And we find that that is correct. We'd have 28 minus 20 is 8, and so we have the correct answer. So this is not the best video I've ever done, but if you have any questions about this, please let me know. I do recommend that you try back solving, especially on these long convoluted problems, and think about when back solving might be good. So is back solving better when there are numbers in the answer choices? Is it better when there are variables in the answer choices? And think about things like that. One last thing that I want to note, everyone says the GRE never tests these real world problems, and look at how relevant to your life this first problem was. I mean, how often have you tried to decide which phone company to go on based on their long distance rates? I mean, this is just so clearly relevant to our lives today. The funny thing is, I can't even imagine when this could have possibly been relevant. Maybe in the 70s, was it 50 cents a minute? I don't know. I remember it being 5 or 10 cents when I was a little kid per minute. So 50 cents a minute, I don't know. I know my dad said that when he called, his brother was in Vietnam, and when his family called, it cost him about a week's salary. So maybe back then it was 50 cents. So this is about a 50-year-old problem, and even then it's pretty spurious whether it was relevant to us. But I'm glad that they've really updated their ways here at the GRE. So anyway, I hope you find this strategy helpful. I do recommend that you try all these different strategies on problems so that you can approach them from many different ways. It really helps you eliminate wrong answers when you can, or avoid wrong answers and trap answers when you think about problems in multiple different ways. So let me know what questions you have, and we'll see you next time.